we lived 52 miles from the nearest town. So I was never indoctrinated into any religion. I had a very traumatic childhood, I really did. But I had a dog, a duck, and a horse. And I'd go into the meadow and lay on my horse's back and have him munching the grass and just feel God's love all around me. So I knew God loved me. And I knew that this is how I cope with life, through these experiences with God and nature. So nature's been my teacher in many, many ways. And then I came down out of the hills when I was 12. And I was trying to find a religion. And first of all, they wanted me to say that God was a wrathful God. No, wrathful, not a wrathful God. He's not a wrathful God. I don't want to go there. So anyway, the nearest thing I could find anything I wanted was the Catholic Church. So I became Catholic. Well, that lasted about 5 years, and I thought, I can't be this bad. There's just no way I can be this bad. And that's when I found Eckankar. It's everything in its rightful place in the spiritual world. And as long as you remember that and live by that, you have a pretty good life. You don't have to worry about anything. Well, you do worry, but the worries are less. That's my coping medicine. I'm sure I've done it all my life, but it's become more prevalent as I become more joyful in my life. I think all Eckists have an interesting story about how they get into Eckankar. I taught swimming at one time, and my daughter was in a scout troop that was giving lessons to the disabled, kids. She asked me to be a part of it and participate in it. And I went to the event, and I went and I met Kaylee DeWitt, Elmo DeWitt's daughter. Then I went to interview for a job. The auditors for the firm I was going to go to work for were Chancellor, Barberi, and DeWitt. So that's when I met Elmo DeWitt. He talked to me for about 4 or 5 years. I'm a slow learner. And then one day he brought over to my desk, and it was a theory of relativity. And on the top of it, he put self-realization and God-realization. I'm looking at this thing and what in the world is this? So with that in mind, he told me where I could find a book by Paul Twitchell about all the different masters and going down and through time. So then he told me about this class. I walked in the door of the class, and I knew I was home. I just knew I was home. There's never been anything since. That teachings were so relative to my life and what I was trying to search for. I've been searching for years and years. And when I found that, and I sat in that class, I was home. And it's been that way. I never left, because it was so profound and so meaningful for me. And it brought me so much joy. This group was so enthusiastic. There was 4 brothers and 1 sister, and the brothers all played guitars and sang. It was just, the whole atmosphere was so something I just knew that I wanted all my life and finally found. I was giving introductory talks as a first initiate. So that's how I got into Eckankar, and it's been the path, this beautiful path. It's changed over the years, of course. It's evolved over the years, as all of us have. And what I find for myself, and as I wrote this book, it's called My Life's Journey into Unending Possibilities. I was 40 when I got in. My husband was 50. And all the other kids were in their 20s and 30s. So we had such a beautiful group of young people. And there was so much love. The love was unbelievable. And we never had anything but praise for each other and helping each other and just a wonderful time. So that was my beginning in Eckankar. And by the way, My first satsang class, there were 40 people in the first satsang class I was in. That was before Harold became a master. That was when he had a prior master. But it was kind of interesting because Elmo always talked about Paul, because he and Paul were very, very close. You know, he did everything with Paul. So Paul actually was always my master, even though there was a different master at that time. Elmo was the only one there that could lead a satsang class. And we kept waiting for somebody to come in. And the office kept telling us, you know, you need to cut down. He said, well, bring me somebody to cut it down. But nobody came. So we all became second initiates, and then we took classes. The first year, and we had it in my home. And we had this large oversized hall. We had a kitchen with a walk between the living room. And so we had people in the living room, down the hall, and in the kitchen. But we all participated. And you know what was really beautiful about that experience was because Elmo was so patient with us all. And he would tell us one way, and he would tell us another way. And I said, Elmo, do you realize you said that 3 or 4 times? He said, yes, but there's 3 or 4 different consciousnesses here. And I'm trying to relate to all the consciousnesses that are here. But he was so good about everything, you know, and I learned so much from him. Well, we had people come from Northern California, had come from Fallon, Nevada, into the classes. They came in for those classes. And we had them, I think we had them 2 or 3 times a week. We had all kinds of classes just by being this loving channel. I mean, it's really interesting. I had a really hard time when I moved in here because I came from an environment where it was so peaceful and so little interaction between people into this. And I was finding myself criticizing. I found myself doing all these things that I thought I had totally gotten over the years, right? They all came to the surface. But over this time, because of my morning exercises, because of the discourses that I read, I found ways that I can just let that go. And the main reason and the most beautiful way is just to turn it over to the Mahanta. The Mahanta, here it is. And it frees me from all of these woulda, coulda, and shoulda, and why don't they do this and that and the other thing. It doesn't matter. They're in the Mahanta's hands, not mine. But it took some adjustments, and it took some surprises because I didn't realize that any of that stuff was even left. Okay, every morning I get up. Of course, I do my regular thing, let the dogs out, this type of thing. But then I sit down, and I have these discourses that I read. Right now, I'm almost on the last of this one. It's the Satsang Discourses for second series. It's amazing. I went through all of these one time, but these books open up everything for me because they show me so many different facets of the religion that I didn't know before. These discourses have been the most beautiful blessing that I don't think I've ever had, because they're so well written and so much for me to understand and comprehend. It's so concise. There's everything here for you. Everything you could possibly want to know, you can learn through these discourses. It's amazing. And then after I read the discourses, I pick up the Shariat, which is our Bible, and I run to a page and I read. And that sets the tone for my day. Most of the mornings I do sing you, yes, as part of it, the whole scenario, thinking about whatever I'd read in the discourse, or whether it was really struck me as something I need to search further into my life, this type of thing, you know. But the hue is a catalyst for everything. It really is. And it's so easy to share it. I've done several different talks on different subjects since I've been in here. The last one I did was Mary Caramole's book on change. You know, how it affects a change on your life. Of course, all of us in here are making changes in our lives. Some have been here because they choose to be here. Others have been here because they've been put in here. And the ones that have been put in here are very angry and trying to get through that anger, trying to get them to understand, you know, that it has a purpose no matter what it is in your life, that there's a reason for it. But to find that reason, you know, and you can't just come to them and say, well, there's a reason for you being here. They don't really respond to that very well. When I first moved in here, okay, first of all, I had the wrong shoes on. I was walking to one of the dogs, and I fell on the sidewalk. I was four stitches in my head. They threw me and picked me up. It was my first ambulance ride. I'm talking to the ambulance driver and asking him, are you sure you know where you're going? And he's laughing. And he said, you know, we really needed you because we had two really bad things happen to us this morning already. One man died on the way to the hospital, and the other one did nothing, complain all the way to the hospital. It's so nice to have somebody in here that's just having fun. You know? But that was my first ambulance ride. So, and then the second time was walking the other dog, and I fell, and I cracked a rib. But I'm sitting there, and they picked me up, stuck me in my chair. I'm saying, I don't want to go to the hospital this time. I'm not going to the hospital. So they said, okay, well, we'll have to check your vitals. So they came with the fire truck to check my vitals, and I stayed here. But that was that second time. So I've fallen 2 times since I've been here. I've had COVID since I've been here. Never had COVID before. I've also had the worst flu I've ever had in my life since I've been here. And I wonder, what am I doing here? But you know, through it all, what has amazed me is my attitude. You know, I've just taken it, lived with it, and laughed about it. You know, what are you going to do? You know, through my teachings, through understanding that everything in your life has a purpose and a meaning, and that whatever it is, if you find the meaning to it, you can unravel it and come out of it. And that's what life's all about. That's why we're here. To learn, to understand, to accept the things that we've done in the past and make amends for them if you can, in any way you can. That's life. That's what it's all about.